And we're back here on Good Morning Lake Martin. It's about 14 past the hour here with Doug Roberts. Also, our guest is Larry DiChiara, and he is actually running for Congress for District 3 as a U.S. congressman and taking on a really tough foe. Mike Rogers has been there quite some time. But maybe we would like to know from you. Of course, Doug has questions as well, but some of the specific topics. First, Doug,
one of the biggest things, and I actually mentioned this on our program the other day, and I look in the front page of our paper this morning. You see the headline, "Time for a Change." And of course, that's bandied about, and it may or may not have any meat to it. But this is what I said the other day. I feel like, as I look around, that people at local, state, and federal levels have really begun to lose faith in the ability of what we'll term the government to do anything. Do anything well, or do anything right, or do anything helpful, or do anything profitable. And it's hurt America. It's hurt the state. It's hurt the city. How do you respond to that attitude that seems so rampant in people right now?
Well, you know, I absolutely understand that attitude. However, you can't buy into that attitude. You know, my 14-year-old looked at me one day and said, "Dad, there's a lot of problems up there. You need to go try to fix it." And I looked at him and said, "I'm just an educator. What can I do?" And he said, "Well, you've spent your whole career solving problems and fixing schools. Why can't you do something about that?" And I said, "Well, because you have to run." And I went to bed that night thinking, you know, I'm sending the wrong message to him, because when I went and got my doctorate, I wanted to set that example for my 3 boys to go as far as you can educationally. But tonight, the message that I'm sending him is it's okay to sit on this couch and moan and complain about what's happening in the world and then not do anything about it.
Sure.
And so what I don't want are citizens to be so discouraged that they just throw their hands up in the air, because I told a group of educators last night that I spoke to that if we don't step up and provide the leadership, then who will? Because what's lacking right now in Washington, and the reason why people are losing their faith, not just Washington, but in Montgomery as well, is there's a lack of integrity. That's one thing. There's lack of leadership and statesmen. So what they do is they go up there in order to try to stay in power. They're going to do whatever they can to make that other guy unsuccessful. That guy's going to do everything they can to make you be unsuccessful so that they'll stay in power. And the next thing you know, we're not getting anything done. That's not good for America. It's one of the reasons why I believe we should absolutely have term limits. Because I really think that if we know we're both going to be gone after a year or so, we're going to look at each other and say, "Steve, come on, we're both going to be gone in a year or so. Let's work together and see if we can do something good for our country. Absolutely. It won't do any good if I try to make you be unsuccessful and vice versa. We're both going to be gone. Let's try to do something."
A team.
Yeah.
But exactly, because we're about to leave, both of us are. If I know that I can stay here forever, then I may not want you to be successful because I want to stay in power, and vice versa. And so that's why you've got to send people up there that's not going up there to make a career out of it. It's got to be somebody that says, "I'm going to go do the best I can, and then I'm going to get my butt back home." The biggest thing, Doug, that I don't want Americans to do is give up. Because there's a guy named Randy Brinson, who's head of the Alabama Christian Coalition, who called me one day and said, "We want to support you in your effort. You have those morals and those values that we want in a leader." And I said, "Well, Randy, what's the biggest message you're trying to give to your folks?" He said, "I'll tell you what it is." He said, "You know, we've got good people in this society, in our world, that think, let's just let terrible stuff happen in our country, and then we'll go to church on Sunday and we'll pray that God will fix it." He said, "I'm trying to say to people, you know, God gave you free will. So let's get involved in this. Let's us get involved to make sure some of those bad things don't happen. And if people are in there not acting the way they should, or not doing the things that are consistent with our values, then you get them out." And I go back to the first time I was ever hired as a superintendent. I had a board member say, "Well, how will I know 3 years from now that you've done a good job?" And I told him all the criteria. Look at the test scores. Look at how much money we're spending. Look at our discipline referrals. Look at our dropout rates. I said, 3 years from now, if I haven't done a good job, if I haven't moved those numbers in a positive direction, then don't renew my contract. Well, we should hold politicians to that same standard.
Sure.
If we're not seeing the needle move in a positive direction, you may not be the reason for that, but your leadership has not turned that around. And maybe we need to try a different kind of leadership. So that's what I hope I'm going to be able to bring to it.
A couple of the polls that I saw on some specific things, and I'm sure you'll be asked about it and probably already have, and I've asked Mike Rogers these same questions. Some of the most talked about topics. Right now, one seems to be terror, others immigration and economy. Your thoughts on some of those?
Well, let's just start with immigration. You know, one of the things I hope the kind of leader I am is bring common sense to the equation. Because in education, it has to make sense before we can waste those valuable education dollars to do it. You know, even a plumber says that I've got to turn the water off before I can repair the leak. See, that's a pretty simple.
A smart plumber.
That's a
good plumber.
That's a pretty simple concept. Well, don't you think we ought to, stop, turn the water off before we can stop this infiltration of illegal immigrants before we can fix it? Let's stop it to start with. Let's slow it down at the very least, and then we can see if we can solve it. The other thing I've had people say is, well, why are you against bringing all these Syrians in here? We're the land of opportunity, and we're supposed to be caring for people. We're a Christian nation. You know what? They say you must hate these people or something. I'm like, no. I said, when I lock my door at night before I go to bed, I don't lock the door because I hate the people on the outside of that door. I lock the door because I love the people on the inside of that door. There's a big difference there. It doesn't mean you hate the people out there, but you have an obligation to keep your folks safe. That's your obligation. In government, that's one of their first obligations. So why would we just open our doors? And especially when you look at the photos of the people coming, they're strong, able-bodied men. And then I see these photos of 6 Syrian women in camouflage with AK-47s fighting for their country. And I'm like, what's that about? These able-bodied guys, what are they doing? Fleeing, and there's women over there fighting. Get your butts back and fight for your country. And
lock your own door.
Right, lock your own door. And as a matter of fact, what I've said when people say, well, what would you do with them? I'd say I'd give them their country back. I'd grab Germany and France and these other places that are being inundated with these Syrians that's causing a lot of havoc in their countries. And I'd say, give me some soldiers. Let's go to Syria. Let's lock off a half of Syria, a no-fly zone. Let's give them their country back, a safe haven, while we go kick some butt. And you got to start by unleashing your military. Let them do what they do best. And what they do best is they kill and destroy. And you let them do it. You take those attorneys and get them out of the way. Some of these agendas that people shouldn't be involved in war, and let them do their job. Give them their country back, and then we don't have to then worry about letting them come over here, and we don't know which ones are terrorists and which ones aren't. Let's give them their country back, and I think we can do that.
Right. National debt at an all-time high. Scares people to death. What are your thoughts?
Well, my opponent, for example, has voted at least 5 or 6 times to raise the debt ceiling, to allow it to, it's at $18 trillion now. It's going to be 20 by the time Obama leaves, because my opponent, in the last vote they took, joined with 60-something other Republicans to allow him to raise the debt ceiling even higher. 180-something Republicans voted no. At some point, we've got to say no. In education, we had a budget. Well, do you know when the last time we had a budget? The law says Congress shall pass a budget. We haven't had a budget since 1997, back when Newt Gingrich and Clinton were up there. Well, that's against the law. We keep passing these continuing resolutions. That's equivalent to a school board saying to me, Dr. DiChiara, we're going to give you money, but we're not going to let you put together a budget because, we're just going to make sure you have money. Well, I don't know now how many people I can hire or how much money I can put toward preventive maintenance, because they're not telling me how much money they're going to give me. They're just going to give me some money. Well, that doesn't make fiscal sense. It just doesn't make planning sense. But that's what we've been doing. So you have to have the courage whenever it's time to vote to say, you know what? If I have to, I'm going to vote no here for 2 reasons. One, you can't hand me a 10,000-page bill and ask me to then vote on it the next day. I'm going to vote no, just because if I can't study it and look at it, I'm not going to vote yes on it. And the second thing is, at some point, we have to quit spending more than we're bringing in. And just cutting is not going to solve the debt problem. That's the best place to start. And you know where I'd start? The Department of Education. And that surprises a lot of people.
It does. Actually, you just took me off guard.
The Department of Education, people think, has been here forever. It was developed, it was established when Jimmy Carter was president. Billions of dollars go into this department and this bureaucracy. That money could best be used in our schools. get rid of that. The only section I would keep would be the area that takes care of the rights of students with disabilities, because there will always be a need to enforce those laws.
Sure.
So put that arm over here with Health and Human Services, get rid of that bureaucracy, tell them to stay out of our lives with Common Core and all those other things that they're trying to push, and let us be in charge of our education of our kids.
We got about 2 minutes. I got about 5 topics, so we won't get to them all today. But another big topic right now: gun control. It's a major topic across the nation. What are your thoughts?
Let me tell you the problem I have. Nobody worries about. Nobody would disagree. We want to make our folks safer.
Sure.
Where the debate comes is, are we safer when people have guns, or are we safer if people don't have guns?
Right.
You know, I looked at somebody the other day, we were having this debate, and I said, I carry a pistol most of the time. I travel a lot. I'm on back roads, you know, at 12 o'clock at night a lot of times, especially during this campaign season. And I always have a firearm with me. And I said, if we were in a building and somebody came in ready just to shoot and kill everybody, would you feel safer at the fact that I'm sitting next to you with a gun, that I might be able to save us? I might be able to deter that guy from killing us all. And he said, absolutely. I said, well, why would you then have a problem then with us having a gun? You want to take them all away, but yet you just told me you would feel better about the fact that I had one. Yeah. And I said, we know the whole argument about that, about it's not the guns that kill, it's, you know, it's the people behind it. And so what I worry about, you know, our president says, well, I'm only wanting to make it a little bit tougher for folks that have mental illnesses and so forth from getting one. But as soon as you start chipping away, you know, it's like a snowball, and the next thing you know, you have no gun rights, and when that happens, we're going to be in trouble.
These 10-minute segments go so fast, and it's great to meet you, sir. I'm going to give you about 15 seconds, and that's your camera out there if you'd like to make your appeal to the voters in this area.
Well, what I've told people, Steve, is that I am not a politician. I'm an educator. I kind of cringe when people say, yeah, you're a politician now. And I'm like, no, I'm not. You know, I'm still flattered when people still call me coach.
Yeah.
And what I just want to do is try to bring a different kind of leadership. And I keep going back to, because if leaders don't step up, who will?
Right.
And if people support that notion, get behind people that have the courage to get in there and help them.
Yeah.
You know, and you can help by just putting a yard sign or write a letter to the editor about we need change. And I'm hoping that's what's coming is change.
Best of luck to you, my friend.
All right, thank
Larry
you.
DiChiara, candidate
it.
for Congress, U.S. Congress District 3 against Mike Hubbard, and best of luck to you, my friend.
Mike Rogers.
I'm sorry, Mike Rogers. Mike Rogers, sorry about that. Hey, let's take a break. This is Good Morning Lake Martin.